Hello everyone, I hope you're doing fantastic. In today's video, we're going to prepare an animated heart icon, an animated like button icon in Figma. This is going to be an interactive component. We're going to be using Smart Animate, hover states, press down states, and simple animation to show that there is some kind of feedback and to show that this is really interactive. This is the final result, a rectangle, and the dimensions of this rectangle are going to be 160 by 100. Then we're going to round these two corners, which means the top right and the bottom right one, and we're going to say 50. Then we're going to select this rectangle, duplicate that, rotate, align like this, select both of these, merge, rotate again, and there is your heart. Very simple, right? Now we need to actually create the animation. I'm just going to remove the fill and add a stroke. Stroke will be around 12, let's say, right? We're going to name this heart and select that and then create a component from this. This component is going to have a component property, and the component property is going to be called state. It's going to have a default state, a hover state, then it's going to have a pressed down state, an expanded state, and then final state. So we're having 5 states in total. But don't worry, this looks more complicated than it actually is. I'm going to explain everything. The first state, we're going to keep that as it is, so nothing will happen. This is the default look, so if you don't interact with this icon in any way, it's just going to be, this is just going to be the look of the icon. Then we're going to have a press down state, and that will mean that this stroke is going to turn to like mid-gray, let's say, right? And it's going to also shrink a little. Sorry, this is the hover state, so that means it's going to turn to also mid-gray, but there's going to be no shrinking. The press down state is where the shrinking is actually going to happen. So I'm selecting the heart shape and then pressing K to access the scale tool, and with the heart shape in the press down state selected, I'm going to do this to push it a little bit as if further away from the user. Right? Then we're going to have an expanded state, and this means I'm going to again take this heart icon with the scale tool selected, and I'm going to do the opposite of this. I'm going to expand the heart icon, right? I'm just going to increase this to give this some more space. And this expanded state, that's going to be actually red, the stroke, as well as the fill. So this is where our like button will actually turn red. I'm going to change the color to make this a bit softer. So why don't we actually just selection colors and just choose a color that is better in my opinion. Right, so like this, for example, yeah, I think this looks good, and same here. So again, selecting the heart icon, sampling the colors from the previous state, right? And now we are ready for prototyping. So I'm going to select the prototype panel right here, select the first default state, and click and drag over to connect the first state to the hover state. I'm going to say that this is going to be while hovering, change to state hover, and it's going to be, of course, Smart Animate is out, and it's going to be quite quick. So let's go for 80 milliseconds, and then from here I'm going to do something similar that I'm going to say while pressing. So while pressing, change to state press down. That makes sense, right? And then I'm going to continue selecting the press down state, click and drag to this expanded state. That's going to be on tap, change to state expanded. Actually, it's going to be touch up or mouse up, state expanded, and then from here, this is going to be after delay. The delay is going to be just 1 millisecond, so that's instant, and change to state final, right? Smart Animate is out 50 milliseconds. So theoretically, what should happen now is that when we use this, an instance of this component, we should be able to hover over this icon and it should turn to its gray, mid-gray color. Then when we actually press down, it should shrink, then quickly expand over the edges of the frame and then revert back to its initial size with a new color. I'm gonna test this on a frame that I'm going to create right here. So this is going to be 1000 by 600, and it's going to say test frame. And also we're going to shrink these icons, make these icons smaller, because I think that's too big for an icon. So instead of 184 in width, this is going to be 32, 33 pixels, something like that. Let's test this out. I'm going to go to Assets, and then click and drag the heart onto the test frame, center it, and launch the prototype. My prototype has launched with an iPhone device. I'm going to fix that by going to Prototype, and then just select under Device, I'm going to select None, and this should do the trick. Right? Yeah, it's fixed. I'm going to fill the screen with this. And before we actually test the prototype, there's going to be one small change, and that is if we actually want to unlike something, right? We click the icon again, and it reverts back to its initial state, which should be the case here as well. So on click, change to state. Default is going to be Smart Animate. The time is going to be 100 milliseconds, something like that. And now let's see what we built. So there's an icon. We hover over the icon, it changes to gray. We click it, we hold it pressed down, it shrinks. We release it, and it expands, and then reverts back to its normal size with a new color. So once again, we unlike, hover, press. So this is the loop that we have created. Very simple, yet powerful, and gives the user a good feedback that something's happening, something has been liked, favorited by them. So this is very good for using in your interfaces, in web design and mobile app design. It's also good to mention that when designing things for mobile, it actually doesn't make sense to use hover, because there's actually no hover in, you either touch the screen or you don't. With computers, that's different, because you can hover over stuff and then you actually click it. I'm gonna just make this a bit bigger so we can see the icon better. So this is what it looks like. We could add a shadow, for example. We could do that, yeah. I think, let's go to Effects. In this final state, let's sample the color from here, blur it, move it down, and then decrease the opacity and try it out. Right, so you get some nice little shadow here to go the extra step. So this is the final result. This is what we get. We hover over the icon, press it down, release, and it does this little jump when it expands.